Here we go with the actual introduction to the layout of 3ds Max 2010. Now when we first opened 3ds Max 2010, there are some things we're going to have to do right off the bat. We run clean access here at the school, so everything you're going to set up in this is going to have to be redone each time you work in it here at school. If you're running it at home, you're only going to have to do this once, so that's pretty cool. The first thing you're going to have to do is up here where it says Customize. You're going to click on Customize and go down to this little thing called Preferences. When Preferences open, it allows us to change a bunch of the components of 3ds Max. From the size of the spinners, the scene selection, how we select things, the gamma layout, the rendering, the animation, all that stuff can be set up here. But the most important thing is if we don't change this, we only have 20 levels of undo. That means you can only hit Control Z 20 times or click the undo arrow 20 times before it stops. Now what you may need to repair or fix may be 21 times ago, so you have to fix that. So the maximum you can do is put this up to 500. You can type it in, you can click on the bottom arrow and just hold your mouse button down and move your mouse up and down, and it'll put it to levels of undo 500. Again, you'll have to do that every time you do that here at the school, but at home, when you're working on it, you only have to do it once. The next thing we're going to do is there's this little box and this little gray cube represented in each one of the windows up here. We call that the Granny Cube. Okay? It's for Grandma to use when she wants to look at your 3D models. Professionals, we do not use it. So to get rid of this little box here, which you can navigate in 3D space with, is there's a little house. If you click up here on the little top left part of the icon, and you can right click it, and there's a thing called Configure. If you click on Configure, it opens up the actual dialog box for that viewport configuration. Now the first thing here in the Viewcube box tab is a thing called Display Options. First thing you want to do is actually get rid of it. I don't want to see it on your desktops. And then you can click OK. So at that point we're actually ready to go. Now the layout of 3ds Max, we're going to start in a clockwise position from left going all the way down here to the bottom left. So starting up, we come with this pretty little Autodesk symbol up here, and if you click on it, it actually pulls down a tab like Microsoft Office where we can new, reset, open, save as, import, export, references, manage properties. We can do all this stuff right inside this little tab right here. And it's kind of redundant. I mean, up here we have new scene, we have open file, we have save file, undo, redo. We have project folder, which you can set up, which I was getting to in week 2 to go ahead and have everybody set up. So that's just kind of how the basic navigation works of how to actually get this working. Click off here. Now the first icon, we're going to go through each one of these icons, and a lot of these icons you're never going to use, especially for this class. First icon here, if you hold your mouse on it, it's going to say exactly what it is. It says select and link. So select and link means you can have one box and another box and actually link them together as if you're doing animation. Let's say you're making a robot's arm and you want the fist to be linked to the forearm. You'll actually use that button and say fist, link to forearm. And it's basically just a drag and drop operation. Now to break the link, it's got a broken chain. Very self-explanatory. Again, these are some things you're probably not going to use too much in this class. But in 3D camera techniques, if you take me, and game modeling and animation, you'll definitely use it. Things like that. A lot of stuff will be used later on, but not for this class. The third icon here is called Bind to Space Warp. We can actually create particle effects and have those particles do everything from create a tornado to be bound by gravity. We can make ragdoll systems for characters. We can do all that stuff. And to bind all those things to an object, that's when we actually use the Bind to Space Warp tool. It's not something you're going to really use at all in this class. The next one here is a selection box that actually says all geometry, shapes, lights, cameras, helpers, warps, combos, bone, IK chain objects, and points. If let's say you're working in your scene and you've got 15 cameras in your scene, 27 lights, 90 pieces of geometry, and you click on those objects and you'll go, well, I keep clicking on that object wanting to select that one piece of geometry, but I keep accidentally selecting the lights. You can then change this, and then you're only capable of actually clicking on whatever it is you want to click on, whether it be geometry or whatever it is like that. Now this next one here is select object. Now as I go through these, if I'm going to tell you what the hotkey is for a lot of these, I'm going to click on the object and I'm also going to tell you what the hotkey is. The hotkey for this one is actually Q. But Q is also a shared hotkey that actually goes with something else. The next one here, select by name, the hotkey for this, okay, is H. H, everything you have in your scene, from geometry all the way down to containers and bones and rigs and all that stuff, will be displayed here. So please do not click on the icon, learn the hotkey. The hotkey is H. The next selection is, you'll notice each one of these little selection boxes, when they're available, have a little